All right, hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Game Dev Show. Today I'm here with Yorai and Andrew. We're going to be talking about GDC, a new game that Andrew made, a couple Unity updates, and a couple other fun game dev topics. So welcome, everybody, and thank you both for joining me. It's been a very long time since we've all been here together, and I'm hopeful that next week we'll have even more of the crew together and have a bigger chat. So how have you all been? Or how have you all been?
Been rather good. It's good to see you again. Been a long winter season.
Yeah. How was your hibernation?
It's been good and relaxing. So
That's good.
But I'm definitely ready to come out and ready to start just loading up on some interesting content. Lots of new stuff happening and lots of things going on that I think are really fun to talk about. Before we get into the game dev specific topics, so Andrew, I really wanted to, well, this is game dev specific. Before we get to GDC stuff, I wanted to start with your news.
Oh, Trolls. Now this, I have to say, it's debatable whether this is a trademark name or not. So the box says prototype. And in classic fashion, my first video game project I ever released was called Photo Hunt Online, and that was straight up a trademark game. I got taken down by the owners of the classic Photo Hunt thing. So the name might have to change, but yeah, I'm making board games too, as many of you might know. I like board games, and I made this Trolls game. I'm just showing it at GDC at the Unpub event Monday and Thursday night. If you're going to GDC, come check that out. I'll be there. You can play it. And so I had a nice box printed so that it can look prettier, because everyone likes pretty things, and that's the game there. That's what the game looks like, and it's fun. It's fun for adults and for younger players. My friend's kid always asks to play it now, and he doesn't like playing most games with us, so that's something. And it's a fun game where you collect little gems, you convert those gems into bear gems, and you bribe trolls with them. And then the big twist is that the trolls you bribe are very happy to trade gems with your opponents. They don't care; they just want gems. And so when you get those those little troll cards, you flip those over, and on the back there's conversions, very powerful conversions that only your opponents can use. So as the game progresses, you start being able to make really powerful combos and get better gems really fast. And so the game comes to a head. Whoever gets 5 trolls first ends the game, but then the winner is whoever has the most points. That's always fun. It's a very quick game, probably 8 minutes per player, 8 to 10 minutes per player. So
okay,
very snappy. One action per turn, so it goes very quickly.
That seems really cool. And how long you've been working on this for? About a year and a half now?
Well, technically, this is a pre-pandemic game. So years ago, I had this idea. It was a unicorn-themed game because at the time I was making it with somebody who liked unicorns. She was very much into unicorns. So it was a unicorn-themed game, and I found some art from this pre-AI days, of course, too. So I found some art online that was available in an asset store type of thing, and made the game, and it was fine. It worked, but. And then I moved, and I thought I had lost the game for a while in the game files. Turns out I didn't lose the game files. I found them, and I found the game. And so a few months ago, I had pulled it out and brought it to my friend's house and played it with her and her kid, or both of her kids actually, and they liked it. And then the other one said, "I want to play that one again." And as soon as someone says, "I want to play it again," that's the number one feedback that says they liked it, because they wouldn't ask to play it again if they didn't like it. No matter what they told you before, if they don't want to play it again, they didn't like it.
Yeah, it's the number one rule, like play testing. If somebody tells you they love your game, but they don't really want to play it again, they're just being nice.
That's kind of them, I guess, but also mean. And but so I decided to redo it, and this time, of course, I went on the AIs, and I got different art. I made it trolls because trolls are cuter. This now got to the point where my girlfriend's sister-in-law is like in love with the trolls. She doesn't play games, but she was like, "Oh my god, the trolls are so cute!" And they kept talking about how cute the trolls were, and they spent the first 10 minutes just like ordering the trolls by cuteness before we actually started playing. So that's another good sign, in my opinion. But of course, if that ever went to production, the art would change completely because this is all AI art. Even the Trolls logo is AI made. Everything I use Photoshop to make it better and augment it, but yeah.
Speaking of AI art, that actually reminds me of something that I was going to talk to Yori about and totally forgot to mention before we were talking. So, Wednesday I was at a meetup with Dave and a bunch of other game devs. Unity was there. Thanks, Mark, for presenting. It was really cool.
Invite me.
I did. You were invited. You just didn't want to make the drive.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, go on.
Anyway, we're talking about art. The whole point. I lost track where I was going.
Yeah, you were at the talk with.
I saw. So I saw Matt was taking a look at Meshi.ai, the one that I was talking to you about earlier this week, that does the characters, rigging, and animation. And then there was the other one. What was the name of the one that you?
I think it was Trellis.
Yeah. How do you spell it? I want to pull that one up and show everybody because it was really cool.
1 second.
I had it up. I actually generated some characters, but I've lost the link now.
Yep. I am linking it. There you go.
There it is. Yeah. So we'll pull this one up. Let me show you guys this was because this was really, really impressive for generating 3D characters. Sit and.
If you scroll down, there's a few
models. Yeah, we got some model examples, but it basically did game ready 3D or close enough to game ready 3D models for a lot of stuff, and did full on characters. Where's I log in?
I have a question. This is why does it? Okay, don't take this the wrong way, Trellis people, but if this is a real service, why are there so many damn random ads on this page? Because that's the number one. I'm looking at this page thinking this can't be real because it's full of just like random ass ads. Like, what the heck? Right?
I mean, experience isn't ideal, but I'm not seeing ads on my end. But then again, I have an ad block, so
okay, you might, because there are a ton. I mean, look at the screen. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4 ads and 2 buttons for Trellis itself. Wow.
Yeah. That said, if you sanitize your browser experiences, everybody should. And
yes, it was. Yeah, when I was logged in before, it wasn't like that. So now I'm confused.
Maybe
that's the right link.
I'm pretty sure that's the right link. Unless I missed.
Oh no, it's trellis3d.net.
Oh, god damn it! Yeah,
yeah. See, my spidey senses with all those ads.
That's felt. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, point 1, Andrew.
Well, that's what happens when you don't use the sites. So.
Yes. But yeah, I generated some characters in here and with the Meshi one. And I was impressed with both just because you get nice looking, like my amazing chicken dude. You get nice looking, not this one wasn't nice looking, but this one was hilarious looking characters. But some of them look pretty cool. As long as you put them in a T-pose, they were actually usable. Yeah, you could actually use them. The rigging was a little bit weird on some of them with the feet and stuff. And obviously these aren't amazing models, but I spent like 2 minutes playing around and this guy didn't rig well at all. But unrigged, I was just really impressed with kind of the general quality of AI generation in the last year. Like characters a year ago were much worse. And I feel like I'm curious what we're going to see at GDC with new advancements and what people are going to be announcing, what kind of stuff we're going to have. I know that DDMO is working on some stuff for like mass character generation that were HD game ready and scalable. And it seems like a lot of other companies are doing similar stuff where it's going to be hopefully easy to just create characters. It's going to kill the whole market for Andrew.
Wait, what?
Sorry.
I take it back. I don't like it anymore.
But eventually, I feel like it's not going to be too much longer before a lot of character stuff, like at least for general indie things where you don't have a whole art team, you'd be able to use an AI generated character and have just the same quality.
this was my thought process when I tried out Meshy very quickly. I similar experience to you. I couldn't get a T-pose to put in, so there's that. But I thought, okay, yeah, this is great, but of course these characters, they're not customizable. You get what you get. That's pretty cool. You still have to animate them. Those feet are weird.
Yeah, the feet are horrible.
You're not going to get like a modular character where you can change the wardrobe around and all that. But that being said, I've watched 8-year-olds playing video games. They don't give a shit what the characters look like. So that chicken man will be the hero character of some meme game.
This chicken man would probably be like the most popular character in a video game. Like, I'm playing chicken.
You two are giving me so much to say right now.
That is a hero character right there, and he walks just like that. I'm assuming I don't know. They walk just like that.
This kind of has me inspired. I mean, I could see this being the next team hit.
The peck attack. Oh my god, there's a whole like empire of media coming from this one character, because the kids these days don't give a shit, and that's what we have to remember. As for many of the audience, older people who remember, Super Nintendo and GameCube and whatever, the kids these days, they're gonna grow up and they don't really care about IP as much. They don't care about quality as much. All they care about is fun social experiences in games. So that's my soapbox. And yes, it's going to destroy my business. I think actually it might already be destroying my business, but to some degree, or maybe people are just, maybe it's just the state of the world today, which is probably the more accurate reason. Yeah. But
on that point, I mean, when you say that, it's important to remember, like, even when I was a kid and when I was a young adult, like, I didn't really care about graphics were cool. Like, every now and then you see a game that looked really neat, but gameplay was all that I really gave a shit about. Like, if a game looked pretty and wasn't more fun and the game wasn't more interesting, I didn't care at all. I mean, I used to play a lot of MMOs and stuff on the ultra lowest settings just to maximize performance. I didn't care at all about how pretty it looked. So I can see the argument completely for Chicken Man.
Then again, even at the lowest resolution, you still have like some basic shape that you're supposed to see. So the models did not have like built flaws in them. They just looked worse in terms of fidelity.
Sure.
These are flaws in the quality in general that will translate even if you lower the quality. So it's up to your standard. But
I wouldn't want to use this dude actually in a game, but I do feel like it's getting much closer to the point where we're going to have characters like this where that upper body part is detachable, the feathers are adjustable.
So about that, where do we start? Because this AI already is capable enough to generate the parts, and if you have a rig, you can very quickly rig to like some base model out there, and it will follow that model rather correctly. There are enough improvements to the tools that do rigging, retopology, and cloth fitting. There's stuff like MetaTailor, if you've heard about that can fit like any cloth to any character in 3D, even like to a freaking horse.
MetaFlow?
No, MetaTailor.
MetaTailor.
Yeah.
It's fitting name.
Yeah. And they have a really good site. Usually they do like some streams on YouTube. I haven't actually tried it myself, as a disclaimer. Just wanted to say it's out there. Blender also has recently improved quite a lot of developers' lives, and there are plans to improve how the workflow to create models, rig them, etc. happening, because there are stuff that like almost nobody enjoys doing as a profession, or rather it's the most nuisance repetitive stuff that don't have a lot of art value in them, that AI can actually help in. So Blender is actually working on integrating AIs for that, which is pretty great to hear, because it will accelerate like how much a single artist can actually make with still artistic integrity.
What are like the key things that they're AIifying in there? I'm a terrible artist.
They had a very precise list, but I don't remember the exact details. I just saw it like as an article at one point, and I said like, yeah, that makes sense. As far as Blender actually goes, like right now, They are also investing a lot into automating and non-destructivity. So I don't know if you've paid attention to the Blender scene lately, but there are a lot of improvements to geometry nodes, which are like freaking amazing. So
I
you know
haven't, just because every time I try to work in Blender, I end up just breaking everything and making a mess.
yeah, that's called shortcuts, and you should probably learn how to not use them, at least incorrectly.
I feel like I need to take a full-on like week-long Blender course and get better at it. I just really hate making art because no matter how good I get with the tool, I still feel like I have no artistic capability to come up with anything. I still just end up making a crate.
It's okay. You're gonna that in 5 years it won't matter.
No, I'm curious. You talk a little bit more about it though, Yara, about what's going on in
Yeah.
Blender?
Yeah, so in terms of geometry nodes, I sent two stuff in a chat. If you can open like the MP4s just to show them.
Yes.
So these are examples of like something really quick I made, just to show that you can do like quite a lot of speed up in terms of using Blender geometry nodes. But to summarize it, Blender 4 addressed a lot of inconveniences in the development process when you're trying to create anything. Some of these inconveniences are clicking buttons that have no value. For example, when you have a lot of objects in a single scene in Blender and you want to export each one with a different name, you used to manually have to click every single one, click export, click the FBX format. If they have different configurations, you had to switch configurations, and then you had to click export, or you had to make a Python script, which a lot of people couldn't make. So Blender is planning to add AI to support you in the Python bit. But more importantly, they also added like a single button to export everything with separate exporter options. And then on top of that, if you have things that you do on top, like as a finisher, that are always the exact same process, there is now a visual scripting system for a thing called geometry nodes, which is basically a modifier that you put on top of an object with whatever settings that you want, and it executes code in Blender for you based on what you tell it to do. So I made a quick experiment where I'm taking two meshes and I'm saying, find the top of one of these meshes, find the intersection between the two meshes, find the parts that are both the top and the intersection, get only those parts, turn them into paths, turn the paths into meshes with like the top part only, and then I have like grass that is just a collision between two parts. So for a game like a Mario style system, I can automatically generate like smooth corners or cool textured areas just for those places, and I don't have to manually UV this thing at all ever again. And I can export every single thing correctly without having to think about it ever again with a single button. So these kinds of stuff can they can cut like 70% of your development process without losing any artistic integrity whatsoever, because you control the entire thing.
Interesting. Nice. Like I said, I'm still terrible in Blender, so I struggle to wrap my head around it completely. But automating stuff is not something I struggle with. So anything that's speeding it up, it helps.
Have you ever seen Houdini?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically Houdini.
Oh, okay.
They
Basically,
added
okay.
Houdini as modifiers. So you control the base mesh, you throw a Houdini modifier on top of that, saying this is the base input, do whatever of these configurations in that input, and you always see the final product, even as you change the base objects. So if I go and like I extrude the mesh always has the top parts with a smooth, the green parts.
Got it. And it's just always running like the modifiers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So how would you, just the last question, how would you compare it functionality wise to Houdini? I assume it's nowhere near the same level yet, but is it getting closer? Or do you think it'll get there?
So I would actually say it's a rather comparable at the level that I am working with Blender.
Oh.
Naturally, it's not going to be as powerful a powerhouse for full-fledged production, but when you are just editing game models, you aren't doing that much. And the things that you want to do there on rather small models, it's entirely capable. I don't think I've seen a single thing that I couldn't do yet. And I've tried like more than 20 experiments that I would say are rather good for game development. Like you can generate roads with proper mesh UVs and do a lot of stuff, and like it will make sure that everything is as per your standards with very little involvement from you. You can literally take a single dot of a vertex, say solidify it so it becomes like an entire mesh shape, and then you can start like using a gradient from the path generated the vertex point, the vertex points turn into a path, and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And you can even say intersect with another mesh and figure out what to do there, make a hole, so now you have a cave in that area, etc. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
It sounds kind of crazy. I always wish like that I'd gotten better at 3D modeling. It's one of the few things that I wish I'd spent. But I always feel like, again, I'll make something ugly, and I just don't have the time. But
There's a skill for sure. There's an art to it that.
On top of that, I just want to point out there is a site called Blender Market, which a lot of people are selling their own modifiers, plugins, etc. for Blender, and there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of geometry node modifiers, which are basically somebody made a geometry node setup with like over 400 nodes. It literally generates an entire castle for you with customizable settings, and you just pop that into your scene, and you have a castle generator in Blender.
Nice. I'll have to check it out.
It's equivalent of Unity assets, but like you don't have to do it in Unity, and you can like do more things on post in Blender itself, and then export to whatever game engine of choice, be it Godot, Unity, Unreal.
Nice. It sounds interesting for sure. I'm gonna have to check it out and spend some time learning it. I think Greg just popped in. I'll add him in a second once he's got his camera working, but I also wanted to talk about upcoming GDC. We got like a couple days, 3 days, 4 days till GDC.
2 days, depending.
2 days till GDC.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 17th, and it's the 15th. So
I'll be there. Wyman will be there.
Yes, it'll be an interesting time. Oh, what's this?
Yeah. So Unity has its own page for Unity GDC 2025 as well, with the time schedule. So if you scroll down more, now you see the timings. So they have like the entire list of events related to Unity itself as well.
Nice.
And these are all at the first 2 day summit part, right?
Yeah. Which is like real soon. It's 2 days from now. So
Monday.
Yeah. Nice. So I'm kind of interested to see what it's going to be like this year. I feel like this year it's going to be scaled back a lot, but I also don't see like a bunch of crypto stuff, and there's going to be other things. I'm curious to see if there's like a bigger variety of stuff, or if it's going to be very heavily AI focused, if it's going to be like 90% AI companies. Like last year it was probably 20% crypto companies. I'm curious, Andrew, what do you think it's going to be like this year?
I think it's gonna be scaled down. I think, I hope there's less crypto in that, because that's whatever. But I'm expecting a lot of AI. A lot of this new stuff this is a good time to show it to people and get them hooked and stuff. So I'm expecting a lot of AI. I'm not expecting a lot of just general activity. Yeah, you were showing this earlier, and the floor plan looks more sparse. There's a lot of space on the edges there. It's just gonna, I don't think it's gonna feel huge.
Last year it was like all of this was Epic, right? And 2 stories.
Are they there at all this year?
I don't think Epic or Unity are on the floor at all.
Yeah.
Is Godot even on? Godot had a big booth even last year.
Yeah.
But it seems like all the game companies don't have a booth. It's very strange.
That being said, I'm still excited for it, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'll be there for the day job, but also, like I said, for the Trolls game, Monday and Thursday night at the Unpub event at GDC Nights. If anyone's going to GDC, I'll be there showing my Trolls game.
Yes, I am going, but I was still trying to figure out how to get the Nights ticket. I got my ticket way before it was supposed to be included, but it didn't get included, and I don't know how to.
Do you have the all access pass thing?
No.
Okay, you might have to pay an extra $50.
Oh, okay.
Night. Yeah. But
we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah. I'll let you play it outside of that too, if you want. If I can meet up with you, if we're not.
Definitely, I'm gonna have to grab a copy too, because I want to try it out. But yeah, it's definitely it seems like a scaled back GDC. There's the international stuff, the educational stuff. It looks like a lot of this whole section is AI stuff. Oh, AI and VR. I'm really curious. My favorite part isn't so much going to see those big companies anyway. They're nice because they give out a lot of stuff, but going to see the smaller ones where I actually see the things that I haven't seen, the kind of cool tech that's coming out and the new things that I think are more interesting, because going to see stuff that's already been announced, or like, if it's a big enough company, everybody's already heard of what they're doing. So interesting. Also kind of excited to go see Domer at the Meta booth. It's going to be down there demoing his new project. Want to check that out?
I will say the one negative or just sad bit about no big companies there is 10 years now, 12 years ago, I would go there and as a little child would sit there and watch every Unity demo they had at their little booth, and I would talk to the Unity people, and I got to the point where they recognized my face because I was just always there for some reason, like asking questions and stuff. So that aspect is huge for indies and solo people just trying to learn and get into the industry, and that is, if without the companies there, that doesn't exist, and that's a shame. So I will put out there, I'm sad in that regard that these bigger companies, Epic and Unity, aren't on the show floor.
Yeah,
I think they'll be back soon.
Probably. I mean,
hopefully.
Just things.
Yeah.
It's
always a shame that you don't have a place to go to with that, and despite them both making like strides in their own sites and their own events, you'd wish you could see them in every event. So.
Yeah. But my guess is also GDC, like this is the same thing that happens to all the big conferences. They get more and more expensive, right? Because they're private. They're not like for profit. And my guess is, this is just probably getting really expensive. They're trying to make more and more money. And like I remember back in the day, Macworld was a big thing I used to always go to. And then Apple was like, nah, we don't need to pay you. We'll do it ourselves. And suddenly Macworld disappeared. So
yeah, no, I could see that too. Their prices are really, really crazy high. And I still think that they should move GDC to Las Vegas.
Probably cheaper city. San Francisco is expensive. Like
you can get a hotel for less than $500 a night.
What? No, $500 is the standard. I actually went to San Francisco a couple weeks ago for just a side vacation, and just hanging out. We were luckily staying at a friend's house, so we didn't have to pay $500 a night. But just everything's expensive, and it's fun. I like San Francisco enough, but it's just too expensive.
You got to pay $8 for a bottle of water, and
well, I put it like everything costs what you think it does plus $8. Yes. So if you want a burger, it's going to cost you $16 because a burger's $8. Add the San
sounds about right.
Dollars, and now you got the San Francisco price. Yeah.
Did I tell you about my pricing experience in Tulsa?
No, was it cheap?
So it was so cheap that I thought people were making mistakes. First I went to the gas station and the gas was like $3 a gallon. So I thought maybe something was wrong, but then I saw a couple more and it was $3 a gallon. For reference, it was like $6 here. And then I got my kids ice cream. And I got 3 kids each an ice cream and my father-in-law a bottle of water. And she told me it was $7. And I was like, no, I also got those 3 ice creams. Like I assumed that was the bottle of water. It's like, no, like $2 a piece and one for the thing. I was blown away. So apparently everything is not crazy expensive if you don't live in California.
Yeah. 24 years ago, I drove across the country with my brother. We were driving my parents' van across the country from the Bay Area to Florida. And there was a fun, exciting trip. We stopped at many places. We stopped in Kansas, Salina, Kansas, and we went out to a bar, and they were selling a glass boot filled with beer for like $3, and you can keep the glass boot. And we're like, wait, no, a beer costs $5. This was 24 years ago. A beer cost $5, right? For us.
Yeah.
And they had no concept. And then we stopped in Florida. We went to some club. It was like an all-you-can-drink club, which was like unheard of. We'd go up to the bar. We're tipping $1 a drink because that's what you tip back then. Now I guess it's more than $1 a drink because inflation, but it was $1 a drink you tip. So we were tipping $1 a drink, and then we realized nobody else was tipping. But every time we walked up to the bar, the bartenders would come right over to us because we were tipping and nobody else was tipping. I was like, what the hell? Where are we? So there you go.
Yeah, no, I was shocked. I assume it's expensive over there too. You're right.
I don't really follow the cost of these things, so I cannot compare. But the costs are definitely rising up for separate reasons.
Yeah. Living in a high cost area, it was definitely a shock for me. That and seeing houses that cost under $100,000. So.
Yeah, that would be crazy to see.
Yes. I remember when I moved to California and I saw my first trailer park where the trailers started at $500,000. I was like, holy shit. That was like 20 years ago.
I lived in Tulsa for a short while when I was a kid, and no offense to people in the middle of the country, but I would not want to move back. So, you get what you get the prices for the location. Tulsa was not my favorite. It was very cold, very hot, and they have tornadoes.
Yes, the weather is the killer for me. I can't take the cold anymore. All right. Well, before we run out of time, I did want to talk a little bit about Unity 6 stuff too. I know that Yori is definitely going to have a ton of thoughts on it, and Andrew might as well. Before you have to go, Andrew, anything big in Unity 6 you're looking forward to?
So Unity 6, I like using it.
Or specifically like 6.1, because everybody's been using 6 for a
I haven't been
while.
looking into it. I'm sure it's going to be good. I'm happy with the direction of Unity 6. It seems like it's in a good direction. And I'm pleased with it. Just makes me, I don't feel any anxiety over it, if that makes sense, as a user. I'm still using Unity 2022 for the asset stuff because I want to support the latest stuff by testing Unity 6, and it seems wonderful. Package Manager looks nicer than it does in the older versions and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm pleased with that. Nothing bad to say about it.
There's Greg. I forgot to bring you in. We got so distracted talking. I forgot to say it doesn't show your camera on the side view anymore. I have to keep clicking it to pop up. It's changed the view. So anyway, welcome, Greg.
Good to see you. Oh, we can't hear
silent,
you.
Though.
Good to see you.
No,
Not yet hear you. You're
audio.
Muted or something.
Oh my God. So in regards to Unity in the meantime, so there has been a lot going on in the past 3 months that we have been hibernating from the Game Dev Show. Not even sure where to begin, but in that time, they released some updates to the behavior package and then stopped development of the behavior package. They deprecated the user-generated content package. They made an incredible competitive action multiplayer template that uses dots for an FPS. Really good stuff. I'm struggling to remember everything that has happened because there has been a lot if you follow them and their blogs. They made an entire book about creating proper multiplayer experiences and the concepts that are involved from zero to basically an expert level. A lot of stuff to appreciate. And updates to the netcode for game objects have also been rather monumental in that time. Greg, I know that you have been working a lot on netcode for game objects, so would love to hear your experience with that.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, sounded good.
Right. Well, I was saying earlier, it's just great to see you guys. It's been too long.
It has.
Yeah, sorry I was late joining. My wife and I were watching a show, and then I just quickly checked Discord and saw your chat, Jason. So,
Well, we'll do it at the same time next week, and then I think maybe we might go to Fridays. I don't know. We'll figure it out next week. Let everybody know.
Yeah, Fridays.
yeah, but I was playing around with their, Unity has combined like the netcode for game objects, lobby, and relay and everything into a new single API. And I'm working on sort of a multiplayer template that you can just install with Package Manager right from GitHub. And I wrote a Othello game basically to test all that out. And I had it all ready to go. And then they pulled the rug out from under me and refactored everything to use that single API. So I've been in the process of rewriting it for that. But
That's the unified netcode for game objects one? Yeah.
yeah.
I remember when they were starting that thing out. It seemed like a much better idea to me, but I'm curious what you guys think. Do you
It does
prefer
seem
that
a
way?
lot nicer, for sure.
Just to clarify, there have been changes in the API where you cannot longer replicate the behavior that you had with the separate packages, which is why it's taking time to redo things. It wasn't a seamless change where, like, instead of using 3 packages, you're now only using 1. You just literally cannot use it the same way that you have been using it.
Yeah, and they use the builder pattern, so it does everything all at once for you. It gets your relay allocation. It spins up your host or your client, and connects you. Stuff that I was doing separately, with my own lobby and relay implementation, they now all do with a single builder pattern, which doesn't really work the way I designed my game. So I've been having to go back and rework things a little bit.
Yeah. In regards to that, though, you said you made an Othello game, and it supports the entire thing, including the WebGL builds, right?
Yep, that's right. That's the other thing they changed is I can't really use their builder pattern because I have to set the transport to WSL for WebGL, which I couldn't really do using their unified where it's all in one shot. So I still had to split things out a little bit, but I just leave off the dot with allocation part of the builder pattern, which hopefully that makes sense. And it makes sense when I actually put out my tutorial for it. But it's
I'll have to
mostly
watch it and
working.
check
I
it
just
out.
want to, yeah, I just want to do some more testing and stuff before I actually publish it.
Nice.
There was a question from Dom about do you think the behavior package is dead for good? So in regards to that, there has been a post on the official forums where there is an update on the behavior package, and that update basically said that the team is no longer working on it right now. They have been told that there will be an official update coming at some point, and they shouldn't add any more information. So they are sorry to keep us in the dark, but basically that's what I've seen last. It's possible it's been updated since. I'm trying to find the thread right now as we speak because I want to give an accurate answer.
Yeah, I just popped up the link for Behavior Designer for anybody who's
Behavior Designer 2 just came out too. So
Just to clarify,
I'm
that's not
surprised it's
behavior
not
graph.
here on the main OPSIV page. Like I searched for Behavior Designer and you go to OPSIV's main page. Does it pop up?
it's a different. So behavior is the AI one. Just to your guys' clarification there. I do hope that Unity's behavior sticks around because it seemed pretty compelling and neat. I also very much like OPSIV, so I hope they stick around.
Yeah, I
Just to
like it
clarify-
too, but go ahead.
Yeah, so there has been originally it was Muse behavior, which Muse was the generative AI for saying, "Hey, make a script that makes an enemy patrol this area," and the AI would chunk out basically a fully fledged character that would walk in the path randomly and use at the waypoints. Now they've separated it, so the generative AI is unrelated to the behavior package. The behavior package is literally the singular graph wherein you can put nodes, and the nodes are basically visual scripting to call behaviors over time. Literally another format of just visual scripting system. And that contains simplified behaviors that you can port in, plus make your own. And then you can say, this is an AI that first greets you, then starts walking around a path and stops at certain points, waves their hands or whatever, and continues going. And you can offer it in a very simplified way, as opposed to, say, making your own mono behavior for every single behavior. Now you just make parts, and then you can put them together in any order you want, and you have like behavior for an entire game. Now, that doesn't use any generative AI. It's great. It's a fantastic package. And they stopped working on it, temporarily at least. They laid off some members of the team, if I recall.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that it's going to be dead for good and that they're not going to keep working on it more because, and I'll give you the reason that I think that they killed it. And I could be totally wrong. It was just my outside guess. But it's a super cool package, and it was built originally, I think, without the Muse stuff, and I think Muse got added in afterwards as a thing to kind of add to Muse, and then it got pulled back out after that. But it solves the problem of behavior trees for behavior tree based AI. But I think the big issue is that as a company for Unity, the number or the percentage of the users actually needing behavior trees is probably less than 1% of their active users. So it doesn't, I would guess it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to have that as a core thing. It would make more sense to have something like a blueprints or a visual scripting that included and did that, but a behavior tree specifically seems like such a specific solution that I'm guessing they feel like the asset store answers are going to be better. They'll be able to have somebody can just focus on that, and it supports them, and it probably, that's my guess, is why they killed it. It's just that it's too small of a use, like rendering and other things, input, multiplayer, all those hit way more than you have to actually need a behavior tree basically for your game, and that's only a subset of games, and even then there's so many other alternate solutions available already that it's not a problem. There's nobody running around saying like, hey, I want to build a game in Unity but I can't do behavior trees, right? Like that's not a problem that needs to be solved really.
I will say that it's like it's a build booster. Like it makes your workflow faster instead of being an essential thing, which are also very nice things to have. Also, small correction: it's not a behavior tree; it's a behavior graph. Graphs are different from trees. There are differences in how it works, but yeah, I just felt very required to point out the difference. With that in mind, it's kind of sad because there isn't an actual replacement for it right now, short of writing your own, which again has its own problems where you have to do all the bells and whistles yourself, and it had a lot of bells and whistles. It was a very nice package in terms of usage and visual clarity.
Oh yeah, I really liked it. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have it still around. I just understand why I think they killed it off, or if they were making cuts, why they picked that.
There is another thing to bring up here, though. So it was a very pretty package, and it has been using UI Toolkit, I believe. And UI Toolkit is also getting a lot of updates right now. We're finally getting world space rendering soon, so it's already like in the debug mode. If you download latest Unity and you turn up the debug in the inspector, you are able to assign world space. There are some kinks that are being worked out, but they have been giving an update on that recently in the forums. So.
Are any of you using UI Toolkit for anything yet?
Not yet.
I started using it. Okay. So I've made some editor scripts and decorators for specific windows. So, for example, I had a thing where it would run a script that changes how the inspector looks to give me a button to add new assets if I forgot to do anything. And it would scan my entire assets directory once per adjustment that I'm doing to anything in the inspector, or when I open the inspector for something that's valid for it, and it will remind me. The idea being that if I make any mistake, I would be able to do that. And it's far, far more efficient than the previous method where you would use ImGUI effectively.
Interesting.
I had very limited means to test the difference in performance, but I can tell, like, intuitively, I'm not seeing lag that I used to see with the exact same script using UI Toolkit.
Strange. Yeah, I don't really see lag in mine, but I'm curious.
I am doing a thing where I scan the entire assets folder for something. So.
Got it. Okay, and if it was doing it on the main thread, that would be an issue.
Yeah, and there isn't an ability in the ongoing side to say only on a change invoke that kind of behavior in a proper way where it's not like on validate or
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That makes sense. I guess if you're doing in that ongoing, it would be an issue. Andrew, I know you got to go in a second, so real quick, do you want to share what you had on the $20 sale?
Yeah. So I don't have anything on the $20 sale. That was the problem.
This thing's $20 though.
Yeah, that's because I was not invited to the $20 sale. So I said, you know what? I'm going to protest that decision. Whoever made it.
They just made everything $20.
I made all my characters and creatures, not the humanoids, but all the creatures, monsters, and the humanoid creature monsters, $20 for the duration of the sale. I don't know when the sale ends, but after it ends, I'll replace the prices back. So for right now,
anything is $20. Nice.
Yeah. Because why the heck not? Even the dragons.
Wow. Okay. That's the deal right there on the dragons, especially.
So,
Sweet. Well, the link is in the description. That's
And
I thought these were on the sale. It says $20 sale
yeah,
and everything's
it's on
$20.
sale. That's why you have to use the magic link in the description. Maybe put it in the chat too. But I will say, in new PBR, I'm still working on new assets. We're working still diligently on a new human V2. I've been talking about here and there. It's getting closer. It's challenging, but it will be so much cooler once it's done. So we'll see.
Nice.
Knocking on wood. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to check it out too whenever it's ready.
Yeah, nothing to show yet, but very soon, hopefully. Very, very, very soon. I've been saying that, but
All right, man.
trolls, I will see anyone at GDC if I see you, come say hi to me.
Yep, and come try out his Trolls game. Give it a play. See how it is.
So
All right,
I
see you
will
later,
see
Andrew.
next week. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
All right. So before we move past UI Toolkit stuff, I'm just curious if anybody in chat is using UI Toolkit. Yeah, if you guys are using it, just say what you're using it for, or if you're not. I'm just kind of curious. I still am not using it at all. Like every now and then I open it up, I look, and I'm like, yeah, never mind. Change my mind instantly. Like it feels like I'm a web developer again, doing stuff that I don't want to do, and it's not even regular web development, so I got to learn a modified version. It kills me every single time.
Yeah, I had to say the biggest hurdle with trying to use UI Toolkit is that the one part where even on an editor script, you have to use an actual reference to a resource just to get a style sheet, because there are certain things that you are not able to do without creating a style sheet. And trying to generate it with code and put it in a place where it can be loaded so it can be used is very exhausting, and there is no alternate path. I checked the entire documentation because it was so frustrating. They want you to use resources in your actual project to style the things that you are making in editor, and it just feels wrong.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. It kills me. Have you guys tried this thing? Noesis?
Yeah. So, not me, but Jason Story has been talking to me about it, and he's saying he absolutely loves it and he can't go back. Or rather, that's what he said for the moment, but you know how he goes.
Okay. Yeah. It seems interesting. I saw they released the studio for free now to go in and do the UI edits in there. And I've been wanting to try it out. I may need to get Story on and talk to him about it next week. He's talked a little bit about it. Go ahead.
I think it was Noesis. I'm trying to remember the exact thing.
I think it was too. It's the one they used for Baldur's Gate.
No, okay. So I checked. It's Rive. He used Rive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Rive is on top of Noesis, if I'm not wrong. Or one of them is top of the other.
Interesting. I haven't seen this one, I don't think.
Yeah, Noesis 3.2 Rive. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's built on top of it. Interesting. I have to check this out too, because I didn't know the guys from Serenix that did Odin are building a UI system too that's supposed to be super fast and performant. It looks really cool, the stuff I've seen from it, but I haven't had a chance to actually play with it in Engine. So I want to see how that compares too. I feel like UI stuff, it needs some love, but I just don't know. The web stuff kills me.
Yeah, so he said Rive is straight fire. He played with it a year ago back, and it was part of the Nemesis workflows, but now you can make standalone players and run them in Unity. It replaced 90% of Unity UI for him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's not going to play, but I'll have to check that out and talk. Oh, we'll wait until next week when he's around and talk to him about it too, because I'd love to get his feedback.
It's a good thing because it's standalone.
Yeah, just run it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Try it. So back onto the Unity 6 stuff.
Mhm.
Before Greg, did you see we were talking a little bit about new Unity 6 features? Just curious if there's anything in 6 that you're excited about or interested in. I saw a couple things on Wednesday that got me revitalized in excitement of stuff. Mark was showing some stuff off, but I'm curious if there's anything you've seen.
No, I am using Unity 6 though now for my stuff, but I haven't seen what new stuff you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I'm using 6 for all of my personal stuff, and then some work stuff is not in 6 yet, but I'm in the process of upgrading, getting everything up there. Largely for the it's a little bit of editor performance stuff, but more the rendering performance. There seems to be some really nice URP optimizations and new features in there. And I really want to play with the URP decals too. If I can do a decent amount of fun stuff there. Yeah. What about you, Yori? Was there anything else you were excited about?
So
Right.
I've started experimenting with render graph. It gave me hell. Still trying to figure that out. So I had an arc where I said like, oh, this looks like it sucks, and then I went, oh no, wait, this is the best thing ever, and then I went back to, oh no, wait, this kind of sucks, and then I went, wait, is this bugged? And then I'm like, yeah, this is definitely bugged, and then I'm like, no, it's actually the correct behavior according to the documentation, and then I'm like, wait, it's actually not documented for this specific part, which I feel is what's going wrong, and then I didn't figure that out because something there is wonky. Which is to say, I don't think it's mature enough yet. I kind of think it got shoehorned in because it's a good feature and they want everybody to move to it for performance reasons, but it's making developers' lives kind of hellish because there is a lot more boilerplate now than just, hey, create a render pass, use an unsafe render pass, do whatever you want with the render pass. So that has been rather frustrating. Other than that, I've mainly been just trying to use Unity without too many packages because I'm starting to notice that there is a slowdown of just trying to pick the correct package for every single bit I'm doing. And I've been trying to lower my standards to just make the thing that makes the game the fastest way you can, which is how I ended up with updating Blender so I can use geometry nodes, because I just found that ProBuilder isn't up to task. Unity isn't a power tool for making levels. I don't care what anybody tells me about making entire games with ProBuilder. Blender is faster and Blender is better.
Yeah, ProBuilder can die in my opinion. I haven't used it since the last time I got in there, and the UI was horrible and terrible, and I just have no desire to go in there and build it and in it again.
I'm still peeved about the changes to the UI in ProBuilder, and I cannot go forward with how it is. It's slower, no matter how I try to use the shortcuts, no matter how I try to give like the entire screen the editor. It's slower, it's contextual, the context is hidden behind icons that have no meanings, and in 4K resolution the editor doesn't do the icons any justice. So it's
and Dom saying he uses ProBuilder still, but the old version was so much better. Yeah, I could see doing it maybe for a nav mesh, but still it's just a pain. I struggle with it. So what do you think they're going to announce at GDC? Anything? I feel like there's not much on their list of.
I feel like they're just going to hash out things that happened over the past 3-5 months that people are just not aware of enough, in their opinion, yet, which is something that they've been doing canonically like almost every GDC. They're probably going to talk about the multiplayer competitive package that I mentioned earlier, etc., etc. It's literally the second item in the list. Accelerating the creation of your competitive multiplayer game using the competitive multiplayer games end-to-end multiplayer workflow. Multiplayer center, multiplayer widgets, play mode tools, multiplayer roles. It's literally the set of packages that have been recently releasing. There is one part about getting the best performance with Unity 6.1, which hasn't released yet. So, as far as I remember, I think 6.1 is only in betas right now. I think it's been like on beta 10 or something recently.
It is,
yeah.
I wonder if this is similar to what I saw on Wednesday from Mark. I wonder if it's similar to what they're presenting. It was a lot of tools and optimization stuff for rendering in 6 and 6.1.
In regards to the comment about the dot scores from CodeMonkey, CodeMonkey is great. There are a lot of good things to say about him, especially that he goes through trying to use every single system that is provided by new packages. I still recommend, with every respect to CodeMonkey, to go through Unity's own documentation, because there are sometimes things that literally are not listed anywhere else and will completely break your performance. I have not checked every single line of CodeMonkey's dot scores, but I regardless of that, I would still mention trying to go through Unity's own version for that, especially if you're trying to do dots and multiplayer. There are a lot of gotchas, a lot of them. that nobody else mentions, especially not on the forums.
Oh, yeah, I have to check it out too. I haven't had a chance to grab it and go through it. I have
With
to do
that in mind, Dots is pretty fantastic. It's still a pain in the editor, and I still recommend disabling the burst compiler because it's just too slow as an iterative thing. But if you can survive most of your development process without it and only enable it when you have to, it's quite a pleasant experience.
Yeah, I only turn it on for release builds.
Oh yeah. The comment from Smith about Turbo Makes Games, he actually released the Dots game on Steam.
Oh yeah, Johnny made it. It's a game plus all the source code, so you can grab the game, play it, and then go through all the source code too. I think that seems interesting. Well, there's a lot of Dots stuff I haven't looked at in the last couple months that I feel like I want to take a peek at soon. But go ahead.
Yeah, they actually had a thread within the past 24 hours about an update about Dots, and one of the objectives is still Dots for all. So it's a big push from Unity themselves as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be big in the future as well. But I've also been very recently on a big push of kind of what you were mentioned earlier, Yori, about just doing the fastest thing to get the game done instead, and been very focused on just get it done. Like the back, how it's done doesn't really matter if the end result is the same. So you just got to get it. And then I've been very focused on that and just trying to really push that. I see a lot of just wasted time and over engineering, not just from other people, but from myself in the past too. We just spent too much time building up things that didn't need to be overly complex, or things that I didn't necessarily need to solve, problems that I didn't even really have that I was solving, and just trying to minimize those and just go straight to like, hey, does this solve the problem? Does this work? Done. Like next thing, go on and keep going fast instead of spending too much time on one thing. And it's very easy, I think, as a programmer to do that, like get so focused in on a single problem, be like, I'm going to find the best solution for this, and then realize that nobody's ever going to see it but you. Like nobody's going to care that the solution, because the end result's going to be exactly the same.
I actually had a peak moment where I said I have to stop overdoing it, where I ended up making a data-based math formula system that evaluates every single stat in the game with equations for itself, so that modders can come in and change how the things work and add new stats into processes in the system. So I would have like a step of take this stat, multiply it by this number, and then write it into this slot of like temporary stats, and then use all of that just to say this is the damage number that should be added. And then I was like, why am I doing all this, and where does this number even go to now? Like, what if I want to hit 2 targets? How do I add this as a step? And I'm like, I'm going to make a step of hit a thing or queue event, or now I'm making an event queue, and how do I let this entire system interact with an event queue? And I went through, you have no idea, I have like 3,000 lines of codes and an iteration of like how to do every single thing that the Diablo-like game does, just trying to use that system. And it works great, and it feels great to use. But I know that I don't want to work with
it. Makes it more complicated, and you don't have anybody actually modding it, right? I feel like it's one of the things it's hard to remember do, but it's just like when building a game, you got to get the actual game out and done and make sure that people like it, and then improve on it and make it better. Like every game that I've ever seen that's been big and successful started out pretty janky. Like the code wasn't the best, and it had some problems, and they got in, and if it was popular in betas and alphas, they fixed them up a bit, and then a lot of them have like completely new clients, a year or two in, they've completely redone the game because it got super popular. But the teams that I've seen that spend a ton of time working on back-end engine frameworky type stuff often end up just never actually releasing the game. They build a bunch of stuff but never build the game, or they build all the stuff and then realize that the game sucks, and now they have to build a whole bunch of new stuff for the other game that they have. And it's a lot better to just get the game playable, get it in people's hands, and then improve it from there. Like once it's actually a real game. That's my current thinking, current opinion on stuff. Like shipping is more important than anything else.
Yeah, one more thing that actually really riveted me up was trying to figure out how I want to offer stats in a way where I can make the math formulas referenceable and reloadable and easily localizable. And I just went like, why am I trying to use a scriptable object to define a stat and then figure out all the scriptable objects to load them into a register so I can't reference anything by code if it's based on assets. So I have to at some point make like a thing in the code that lets me point to an asset before I have actually loaded it. And I just went like, you know what, screw it. The assets are just there to follow what the code says. Models can add their own thing by code. I'm no longer using scriptable objects for stat definitions.
I'm the same. I've stopped with that as well. I don't need them because, you know what? I'm not going to add new stats. And if I have designers on the team and they want to add a stat, it's okay if they just ask me to go add it in code. It's better than they just go wildly add 30 new stats because they had a new idea.
Yeah. And if you make a system where they are loadable at runtime, you can still add systems for somebody to load it at runtime temporarily until you just want to add it in the code yourself. But the idea of writing the equations out as part of a data asset just does not work. It's too cumbersome for anybody to actually scale up with. The idea originally was that there are a lot of abilities that have unique interactions or unique stats for themselves. Like if you look at a game like League of Legends or Diablo or Rogue Genesia or whatever else, great game by the way, Rogue Genesia on Steam. I've been hooked on that for the past 3 days or so. There are a lot of stats that the player can get, and every single stat has like a base, a multiplier, a final value, and they all have to stack up in a certain way, and they are calculated in a certain order, and some stats are dependent on each other, so they are basically derived stats that can only be calculated by taking the other stats first. For example, there is like a damage bonus that you get from Faith, which is basically your negative defense, so you have to calculate defense first, then figure out the Faith multiplier, then you get like a damage multiplier on top of that. Crazy stuff. The short gist is almost nobody cares how it looks like behind the code. And if you just had a weapon that says, yeah, calculate damage here, there is a base weapon class. The base weapon class says, here's the damage formula. And if you have something that's like, this is an explosive mushroom and there is a multiplier specifically for explosive mushrooms, take the base damage formula, just plop that over the top of the damage formula. This is the new thing. You don't have to overcomplicate it. You don't have to insert it at the middle step in anywhere.
You don't need to add hooks all along so you could override any different part.
I'm just wondering how Story would react to this conversation.
He's having
I'm sure he
a stroke
had some
right
strong opinions.
He had a strong opinion on his server, so you can go and check that.
Yeah, if you sign up, go. There's a link in the description. Go register, join us Discord, and check out. I'm curious though. We'll have to bring him back next week. Well, it looks like we're at about time. It's getting loud. Dogs are barking and kids are pouring in. So we'll wrap up for the week. Anybody have any final words?
Well, did you mention the game jam that you're judging?
Oh no, I'll put a link down in the description though. Doing a TypeScript game jam with my buddy Carl at Genies. It's pretty cool. It's like a hot reload system that works. It's really weird because it runs in app and you can just write apps that run inside of it. So it's definitely very interesting. We're checking out.
I just want to point out I'm having difficulty reading the name, but how do you guys check out the SOAP asset git amend did a video on? So we had a talk about that in Story Server. One of the users on Story Server basically reached out to the creator of that asset, asking how to deal with the edge cases that we said SOAP isn't suited for, one of which being multiplayer and making different stats for every single player. For example, if you have a player and they have strength, intelligence, dexterity, and you want to add multiplayer, now you have to have a separate asset for every single stat of that player. So you have to have strength 2, int 2, dexterity 2, HP 2, etc., etc. It doesn't scale well in that regard. There are ways to do it that don't have that problem, but you end up losing some of the benefits of SOAP. There are ways to gain those benefits back, but that asset does not do them. It's worth checking out that conversation if you care about that. Maybe we can talk about it at a later point.
And they're talking about vibe coding in the chat. So Code Monkey has a video where he's reviewing a video about vibe coding, which it's funny because we're pretty much being encouraged to do that at work.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, with a startup company, Jolt AI, and it connects directly to our repositories,
Oh,
and
God.
it integrates with Visual Studio Code, and so you just pop out a little chat window, and it is aware of your code in the repository as well as any changes you've made locally. And so your prompts, the responses you're going to be based on your, our code repository and any local changes that we've made. And we're being strong. I mean, they went as far as to say we should not be developing any API endpoints manually. We should be using Jolt for this. So I was just laughing as, Code Monkey's reviewing this video about vibe programming because this just seems really strange to me.
Yeah, it seems strange to me, but we'll have to have a full conversation on it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's lots to say. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for coming out. We will be back next week, same time, and then we'll probably switch to a different time after that. But we'll let you know. I'm going to find a button and say goodbye. Amelia, do you want to come say goodbye to everybody? No. Wow. The nerve. Children. All right. Bye, everybody. See you later. You want to say hi? All right. She wants to say goodbye. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.